Did I click on? Okay, okay. Everybody's here. Ooh, I am getting feedback from somebody. Okay, I think it's good. Good. Hello. Hi.
Hi, Darko.
Hello,
Hello.
Cowstube. Welcome, Cowstube. Um, what are we talking about today? There's a wonderful new release regarding machine learning, right?
Yes, you are right.
Before we get before we start talking about technology, let's actually talk
Yep,
about you. Who
yep.
are you? Where do you join us from, and what do you do?
Sure. So my name is Kaustubh. I'm a senior product manager for Amazon Transcribe, and I'm currently based out of Seattle, Washington. So, big hello to everyone on the stream. Really excited to be here.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we're glad you're here. So tell us, what are we launching today? What is this new amazing thing we're talking about?
Sure. So the latest launch that we've had that I'm going to talk to you about today is called Amazon Transcribe Call Analytics. So let me just sort of like give you a brief overview about what is this all about, and what is the really cool part about this. So to begin with, let's talk about what is Amazon Transcribe, right? Like so, not everyone might be aware of what Amazon Transcribe is, but Amazon Transcribe is basically a service within AWS that allows you to convert speech into text, right? So this is completely machine learning based. There are these simple APIs that you can use, that enable you to do the speech to text conversion without the need for having any sort of machine learning expertise. So any developer, any application that you're sort of working towards, and you want to sort of do this speech to text conversion, Amazon Transcribe's there for you to use, and really, no machine learning expertise needed from your side. Um, so that's what Amazon Transcribe's about, and Amazon Transcribe can be used for different use cases across industries and domains. You could use Amazon Transcribe for media use cases where you're doing subtitling or you're doing captioning. For accessibility use cases, or any other like if you want to get captions for videos or movies, that's you can do that using Transcribe. Could also transcribe medical telehealth sort of conversations between doctors and patients. We have Transcribe Medical for that. So there are a vast variety of these different use cases. The recent launch that we launched, which was Amazon Transcribe Call Analytics, this is focused on analyzing contact service calls as customer service calls and contact center calls, as well as like sales calls and other related calls. Where you really want to get rich, insights and analytics, from this data that you get, those voice data that is in your S3 buckets or available to you in your industry. So that was basically what Amazon Transcribe Call Analytics was about.
Awesome. Before we continue, I see
Yeah.
a comment here in chat by Farah Goblin. Is this the digital version of Pam? Nothing digital can replace Pam. No, no machine learning can replace Pam. So yeah, but so excellent. So this is basically just a way to convert voice to text, right? That's
Yeah.
my understanding of this one.
Yeah.
And this new release has to do something with phone calls.
Yes.
So what exact problem is this solving?
Yeah, so I think a lot of contact centers and sales calls that you have today, the main issues that you run into is you don't have enough insights into what are customers really saying about your products or your business, right? So a lot of these contact centers have like tons of voice data and voice call recordings available to them, but they're really not able to gauge what is the customer sentiment, like what are the customers saying about my products, and what are the issues that I can go back and fix for my customers, right? So it's really about finding those insights about your business, trying to understand, what's going wrong, and trying to make that experience even better for your customers. And usually, all of these, data doesn't get analyzed easily. You need to, spend a lot of time integrating different services. Trying to get speech-to-text transcription and natural language processing services together to extract all of these rich insights. What we've done with Amazon Transcribe Call Analytics is now we've developed a single API that not just does the transcription for you, right? It takes your voice data, converts it into text, but it also does natural language processing for you, right? So essentially, you can get information like, agent sentiment or customer sentiment. you can do call categorization where you can say, hey, I want to categorize these calls based on the type of issues that are seen on this, these particular conversations. Or maybe I want to know, why was this call made in the first place, right? Why did my customer call in? And essentially what we did is we put together the single API that does all of this, and you don't have to worry about maybe taking a ton of different APIs and doing the development work yourself. So it really is a way for us to simplify, and make it easier for customers to get insights out of their conversations.
So customers were able to do this before, correct? They just had it was all manual. They had to they were training and deploying models themselves.
Exactly.
Setting up all the APIs to do this, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And essentially, like you could do this on your own, or you could have even used some of the AWS services that are already available out there. So you have Amazon Transcribe on its own, which was doing speech to text transcription, and then you have Amazon Comprehend, which is our natural language processing service that does a lot of natural language processing on its own. And then you could also develop your custom machine learning models with SageMaker, Amazon SageMaker, which enables you to do a lot of model development. So we had all of these different pieces that you could use on your own. But one of the consistent things that we heard from customers is, hey, can you make this a little easier for us, right? And that's where we said, okay, you know what, like that sounds great. Let's go and do it, right? So we took this API, and it essentially has components of Transcribe, Comprehend, and then SageMaker, where we've developed custom models for customers. And we've really said, hey, you don't need to worry about all of this. Just take the single API, and we'll manage everything in the back end, whether it needs to be Transcribe or Comprehend or SageMaker, whatever needs to be done. We just worry about using this API. We'll get you all the answers.
I love the pluginability of this, this collection of AWS services, and I'll get to a question we have from chat right now. But I just want to paint the picture why this is important. I used to work for support. What support? AWS support. And I used to answer phone calls, and I used to talk to our wonderful customers. Sometimes that customer would be angry, sometimes that customer would be happy. So, and if you have hundreds or even thousands of people picking up that phone call, at the higher level, you want to make sure that the phone calls are good. At least you can analyze what's happening in a phone call, because it's very difficult to ask every engineer or every person who answers a phone call, so how was it? So this is great because it actually picks up all the audio. It takes the audio recording and actually analyzes it using AI to kind of determine what was the mood of the call? Was the customer angry? What's the sentiment of all these things? So I think that's a wonderful, wonderful feature of this one, and it can help you kind of improve your call centers. Okay. Let me first get to a question. Let me get to a question first. So there's a question from. Did I miss it here? I missed it. Somebody was asking, can this thing translate? So is it possible to take phone calls? There we go. Keith Gilbert. Thank you, Keith. Can the AI here also translate from one language to another?
So Amazon Transcribe Call Analytics cannot do that yet, but we already have a service called Amazon Translate within AWS that essentially does the translation for you. Again, similar to Transcribe, no machine learning expertise needed. Just call the single API, and it can convert like text into different languages, from let's say English to Spanish, Spanish to French, whatever different like translations needs that you have. You can use this API to do that. And essentially, I think that's where we're essentially headed, where we want to sort of get more and more of these services integrated in a way that you don't have to do the integration on your own. Essentially, that's what we did with Transcribe Call Analytics. But you'll see us continue to do a lot of this, where we'll try to get more and more of these AWS services that are out there and integrate it into a single product where you can just use a single API. But at this point, you'd have to use Amazon Translate.
So I have a question related to Amazon Connect. For the first part of my question is, what is Amazon Connect for those of us in the audience who maybe aren't familiar with it? And then how does this relate to it?
Absolutely. So let me start with, what is Amazon Connect, right? So Amazon Connect, if you aren't aware, is our omni-channel cloud-based contact center service, right? So essentially it is you can using Amazon Connect, you can start your own customer service for your own organization in a matter of sort of like minutes, right? You can just say, I want to claim a phone number, and then you can set up sort of contact flows where you can say, hey, I want to have this prompt at the beginning where I ask customer for certain information, and then I decide the sort of routing logic I need to have, and then you can set it up in a matter of minutes. And it's sort of the simplest way you could start your own contact center. And essentially within Amazon Connect, we also had intelligent AI and machine learning capabilities, and this was through a feature called as contact lens, right? So really, contact lens and Connect together are meant for customers who want a straight out of the box experience where they just want to set up a contact center, get all the analytics, and they don't have to worry about customizing anything or putting in some effort and maybe integrating it with their existing application. And we have a lot of customers already using Connect and Contact Lens today, and they super happy with the services that they have. But we've also have a separate set of customers that said, hey, you know what? We already have pieces of the entire infrastructure that is within our contact center today. We just want the analytics experience, and we want to be able to feed that into our own UI, right? So really, it's all about flexibility, where they wanted the ability to integrate it within their existing applications and use existing telephony capabilities that they already have. So really, with the launch of Transcribe Call Analytics, what you get is sort of the best of both worlds. So if you think you want to get an out-of-the-box experience where you don't want to do any of the technical development work or any machine learning or any engineering, Contact Lens and Connect is the way to go. It's fully managed. You get everything straight out of the box. But if you feel, no, I want to spend more effort and I want a little more flexibility and plugging into my existing infrastructure, Amazon Transcribe Call Analytics is the way to go, where you can really bring a lot of the components on your own and still get the same analytics that you would get with Contact Lens.
Now, so when it comes to a phone call, especially on a customer service phone call, there might be something you want to avoid being recorded, right? They can be very colorful, those phone calls.
Yes,
but more importantly, when we talk about this analyzing phone calls, analyzing information, a lot of times when I call up my bank and say, this is Darko and this is my identification number and this is things, does this new feature from Transcribe actually eliminate personally identifiable information, PII? Does it work with that?
Absolutely. I think you're hitting on a really important point here. Like a lot of customer service calls have really sensitive customer information, such as names, addresses, credit card details, social security numbers, date of birth, right? Like, so this is pretty sensitive, and all organizations are very careful about how they want to handle their customer information. So that's where Transcribe Call Analytics has this sensitive data redaction feature that can actually redact information from the call transcripts that we generate, right? So for example, anytime there's a mention of, let's say, a credit card number or a social security number, what we do is we have a machine learning model running in the back end, which can identify those instances, and then it'll replace those words in the call transcripts with with the word PII. So you can't actually see what was said at that point in time. And the really interesting part here is it's not just the transcript, right? We can actually redact information also from the audio recording itself, right? So if you have a call recording and you want someone to be listening to that call audio, but you don't want them to be exposed to what is being said in terms of like social security numbers or other PII, Amazon Transcribe Call Analytics can actually redact the audio and introduce silence wherever there is a mention of a PII. So if I'm saying my social security number, when the redaction occurs, you will just hear silence during that piece of the call, and you wouldn't know, what is happening there. So that's a really interesting feature. A lot of our customers, especially in sensitive industries like financial services, healthcare, they really appreciate these features because there's a lot of valuable customer information that is on those calls, and you want to make sure that you're controlling it.
I like that. I think that's a great feature.
Yeah.
That's very powerful, right? You may think like, oh, well, it's a phone call. It's in my company. PII is important. So I think that's very valuable. Excellent. Cool.
Can you talk a little? So I'm curious how we pay for this. Like, how is this priced? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So, like with all AWS services, and you've heard about S3 also, like our pricing is usage based. It's pay as you go. So there are no upfront commitments, no licenses or nothing of those sort. You pay per usage, and the usage is based on the number of audio minutes that you analyze, right? So let's say if you have a
Okay.
10-minute audio call, you just pay for the 10 minutes of audio that you've analyzed. Like if you have a 5-minute call, you just pay for the 5 minutes, right? So it's completely audio per audio minute, and even we have price tiers. So essentially, we have 4 price tiers based on different regions that you're utilizing Transcribe in, and you can really sort of get reduce your costs even further by scaling usage. And by the way, if you want, you can get started with our free tier. So you get 60 minutes of audio minutes free per month for the first year of usage. So you can really go in there and try this out. Take short call conversations, transcribe it, and see what sort of analytics do you get out of it. So I would highly encourage everyone to make use of this free tier that we offer today.
Excellent.
Are there sort of related to pricing? Are there any situations where I wouldn't want to be using this new feature and I would still do this all manually?
Yeah.
Like for instance, if I am at a very large scale or I have a lot of customizations that I want.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so that's the flexibility that we give you, right? Like in case you find like you want this bundled API with all the analytics, available to you, you want to really pick and choose what you sort of get, right? Like maybe you want just sentiment and transcription, right? So if you just want to do that, maybe you just want to use transcribe and comprehend on your own, and just use that instead. But if you're looking for the entire package, then you would use something like Amazon Transcribe Call Analytics. And by the way, if you think like, hey, I want to do none of that, right? I don't want to develop anything on my own. There's Connect and Contact Lens. Like, go ahead and check that out. That really gives you, an out-of-the-box sort of, experience where you don't need to build anything on your own.
Excellent. Wonderful. And there's actually a question here from somebody in the chat. Is from Taiho Lee, asks, can this be also applied to some other sources of data, like not just the phone call, but like your Zoom meetings? They all can get colorful and all that stuff. Maybe we want to make sure that those discussions are. Maybe you want to track sentiment in your company or something. I don't know. Can any audio source be used?
Yeah, so you can provide us any audio file as long as it is a stereo file where we have 2 channels telling us one side is an agent, or it's like speaker 1, speaker 2. As long as you know that you can analyze these these calls. But I think the real benefit you would get here is in use cases that are tailored towards contact center and sales, because that's where you will get the benefit of having agent and customer based sort of analytics that we've developed. So to answer your question, yes, you can analyze it, but I would recommend optimizing it for contact center or sales use cases.
Yeah, awesome. Chat, tell us, do you manage call centers? Do you manage phone lines within your company? I actually used to deploy it was a contact-ish center. I used to manage some phone lines back in the day. I know it was super complicated. So when I've heard of something like Amazon Connect, it's just, oh my god, this is wonderful. So I love that. And what I also love about this specific feature is that it solves some problems. It solves the problems that you want to make sure that your support center is actually doing a good job and your customers are happy. So I like that you can actually see the trends. But I also like the fact that it's a single API. Yeah, it's just great, right? We talked about these Lego blocks, different AI services you can kind of mix and match to make great things. But just by using a single API, that's also great, right? So excellent.
Absolutely.
Are you able to show us a demo?
Sure. I definitely can.
we would like to see that. So while you share your screen, I would like to talk to chat. Hello, chat. Hello, Twitch. Hello, LinkedIn. There is something we are posting in the chat from time to time. There's a link to the survey. One of the things we like to do is we like to understand how do we do. Is are you enjoying my horrible jokes, right? Are you enjoying amazing Jenna's question? Let us know, right? So tell us what we're doing good. What can we do better? So make sure to check out the chat, the link to the survey in chat, and you may get some AWS credits along the way. So excellent. Kaustub, I see something popping up. Cool. So I'm gonna bring up your screen share on screen.
Awesome. Thank you.
Tell us what you're gonna do. Tell us what you're gonna show us.
Sure. So today I want to show you how to set up a transcription job specifically for transcribe call analytics. And my objective here is to really show you how easy it is to get started so that you can go ahead and try this on your own, right? So this is the main page that you can see on your screen right now. This is for Amazon Transcribe. And essentially the first step that I would do here is I would say, hey, create a call analytics job, right? So this is where you come into the transcribe section of the console. You can see this Amazon Transcribe call analytics section. By the way, like I mentioned earlier, we have transcribe, regular transcribe for other use cases like captions that you can also do, and you can also do medical use cases. So these are the other ones. For this demo, I'm going to focus on Amazon Transcribe call analytics, right? So there are two parts to this, to setting up Amazon Transcribe call analytics. So like I mentioned earlier, one of the key features of Transcribe call analytics is call categorization, right? So if you really want to basically figure out, what calls are for what issues, or, what are the top, calls you should be focusing on, one of the ways to do that is to create a call category, right? Again, this is totally optional. If you don't want to do this, if you're not interested in it, you can skip past this and create a job directly. But for the intents of this demo, I'm going to show you this, categorization feature and how you can get started with creating a category, right? So here's the category creation page that we have within Transcribe call analytics. So let's say if I'm looking for a simple use case where customer sentiment is negative in the last 5 minutes of the call, right? That's probably those are the calls that you probably want to focus on. You don't want to keep randomly sampling calls to figure out, hey, which are the calls that actually went bad. You probably want an intelligent way to know what are the calls to focus on, and the way you could do that is say, hey, I want to look at all the calls where the last customer sentiment in the last 5 minutes was negative, right? And then maybe you want to go back and investigate it further and figure out what you could have done differently, right? So here, to create a category, we've really tried to make it really simple by giving you some templates that you can choose from, right? Like instead of creating things from scratch, you could just use some other predefined templates, right? So let me show you some of these templates that already exist, right? So there are 3 templates that you're seeing on your screen right now. These are the common use cases that we find are pretty consistent across most contact centers. Like I mentioned, customer sentiment being negative in the last 5 minutes, non-talk time exceeding 5 minutes. That's really not good in a lot of cases because you don't want your customers to be on hold, for long periods of time. I mean, all of us have been on customer service calls. None of us like it when you've been put on hold for like long periods of time. And if you really want to find those, we have templates here that can help you, look for those. The other things that you would probably not want, happening in your contact center are things like, agents interrupting your customers and speaking over them for like a long period of time, right? So usually what you want is your agents, they should be effective listeners where they're trying to empathize with the customer, really hearing them out, and then, helping them address, whatever problems they're facing. But if you find that there's a lot of overlap or talk over between the agent and customer, that's probably something you want to correct in terms of like coaching or something that you can do for the agent. So I'm going to start with this one first.
Okay. I just had a question here. So like these are 3 templates, but when you create from scratch, how does that look like? Is there like is it like some code? Is it some syntax? What do you do?
Yeah, let me start with the template and let me jump over to the scratch one also. I think, great question. I want to show you both so that you get a flavor of how you can do this. So really, when you do the template here, like you saw, as soon as I selected this, there was some auto-populated rule that popped up here, where what it has done is it said, hey, in this logic section, it has pre-selected sentiment negative, and it has selected the duration as last 5 minutes, and it has said that the speaker is customer, right?
Okay.
Now, if I want to edit it, I can always edit this, right? I can always say, hey, instead of negative, I want to look at something positive. And maybe I want to look for it during the first 5 minutes of the call, or first maybe 60 seconds of the call, right? And I want to look for it when the speaker was maybe agent or it was both, right? So I have a lot of flexibility in editing this if I don't like what is already pre-selected in the template, right? Um, so any questions here before I move forward?
I think this makes sense, at least for me.
Okay,
So.
got it.
Yep.
And then I think to your question about creating from
Okay.
scratch, here's how the experience changes, right? So when you create from scratch, you can either again specify conditions that you're looking for, but what you can also do is you can specify transcript content matches, right? Like where you're looking for specific words within the transcript that you want to flag. For example, let's say I want to look for any case where the customer says, I want to talk to your manager, right? Like basically, they're looking for an escalation here. So I can specify this word here, and I can say, hey, I want to make sure these words were mentioned during, let's say, during the entire call, right? And I want to make sure that the customer said this, and it wasn't someone else. So as soon as I do this, and I can add more rules here, I can keep combining and making more conditions. And here, let's say if I wanted to combine this with interruption, and then what I can do is then create this category. And when I do that, I can see here I had already pre-populated list of categories, but I've gotten this new category here that I just defined, right? So you can create a bunch of different categories here. Common customer use cases that we've seen here are to look for like agent greeting script compliance or agent conclusion script compliance. So if you want to make sure every time your customer calls in, an agent says, thank you for being a valued customer, or thank you for, choosing, our service, things like that. Or you want to make sure they say, thank you for being a customer, hope you have a great day. You can make sure that those kind of categories, you can set up and you can look for those. Other things you can look for are specific issues. Let's say, if you have a rideshare service and you want to look for any issues with, drivers being late, or you want to look for issues where there's an issue with your payment portal, your website is not functioning well, you can set that up. You can even look for escalations, like I pointed out, right? Like what are the calls where customers actually ask to speak to a manager.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of these rules that you can set up here. And yeah, and then once you've set these up, really the next step, and again, like I said, this is totally optional if you don't want to do it and you want to get straight to creating a job. But if you want to use the categorization feature, this is a you need to set these up, and then you can get started with creation of the job. Now, creation of the job itself, I want to show you how simple it is to get started here as well. So when you get to this job creation page, it is really you start off by specifying the job. So I'm just going to call this maybe test one. And then you get an option to choose whether you want to use a general model that Transcribe has for all customers, or you want to use a custom language model that you've developed on your own, right? So there are a lot of customers that prefer trying to use their own custom language models that are trained and tuned to maybe their own product names or maybe their own brand names, that are really not in the common vocabulary or common jargon. So if you want to do that, you can totally select that and go down that route, right? But in all cases, if you feel like you don't want to do that, you can choose the general model. The next thing is you may be wondering, hey, what kind of languages can I actually transcribe, right? So here we have a bunch of different languages that you can see in this drop-down list that you can actually transcribe, today. So you have, English, different variations of English. You have, Australian English. You have Indian English. You have UK English. You have French, German, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Portuguese, Spanish. So you have a bunch of different languages that you can choose from. You can either, and if you don't know what the language is on the call that you're transcribing, you can always choose our automatic language identification feature, which can actually detect the language being spoken on the call. So you don't even have to worry about selecting what language it was. Our machine learning models can do that in the back end. So it's yeah, go ahead.
No, that's great. I like the flexibility of all these things. So wonderful.
Yep, yep. And the next part, I think, coming to our friends from S3, so just having everything within S3 makes it's so simple to set up and use. So here, what you can do is you can say, hey, I have this recording in one of my buckets. So I have all this. I have a bucket already set up here where I had already stored a sort of an audio file. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to say, yeah, this is the audio file that I want to, sort of transcribe, right? And you can do this, for whatever other files you have in there. These are all the valid supported formats that we currently, support.
What is the file size that we can use here?
So
what are the limits? I mean, I guess there's a file size limit and
we do have a limit,
duration.
but essentially you would find that most of your calls that you technically get in a contact center or a sales use case, like up to an hour or more than that, can easily be supported by Transcribe. So we can easily transcribe an hour-long conversation for you, no problems at all.
Okay, but is there like a limit to the length of the audio file?
Yes, there is a limit. I think you can upload up to about a 2-hour file.
Okay.
And then I think if you need a limit increase, we can figure that out.
Okay.
And then basically the next piece here is like I said, like we support stereo files. So you have to specify which channel is the agent and which channel is the custom, right? So in this case, if I know channel 1 is agent, basically that's what I'm going to select. The key reason why we need this is, as you may have seen during our category definition, we do categorization based on who the speaker is, right? So if you want to look for what is being said by the customer versus what is being said by the agent, this is one way for us to clearly distinguish who's saying what, and then also assign sentiment based on the speaker role, right? Whether it's an agent or a customer. So once you set that up, the next thing you want to tell us is, hey, yeah, this is the input file, but where do you want to actually, store this output? So you have two options here. You can select a service managed S3 bucket where, we'll create the bucket for you, we'll manage it, and we'll delete it after like 90 days. Or if you have a bucket that you already have specified, you can select that. I'm going to go with service managed S3 bucket here. And then if you have an IAM role, I've already created a test role. Just select an IAM role, hit next. And then once you hit next, we give you some optional features here. You can skip these totally, but I'll just walk through some of them. In addition to like custom language models, there are other things that we support in, in customizing your transcription. One of them is vocabulary filtering, right? So essentially, if you want to make sure any explicitives or any words that, derogatory words shouldn't be showing up in your transcription, you can make sure that doesn't happen by selecting this option, right? And then uploading a filter of words that you don't want showing up. A lot of maybe customers want to ensure they follow these because of regulatory compliance reasons. This is totally something you can do. Another thing I think we mentioned, one of the most promising features here, PII, right? So here, once you turn this on, we will start redacting your transcripts and we will start redacting your audio files, right? So you get both, right? There's no specific need to configure anything differently. And then if you think, for security purposes, you don't want the unredacted transcript to show up at all, so then you can just click this and we will not generate the unredacted transcript for you. But if you think there's a need where, certain population within your contact center needs to actually read the unredacted information so that they can investigate some issues further, you can totally keep that file. So again, these are just simple, flip of a button, you can turn all of these things out. Another customization feature here is custom vocabulary. If you have a glossary of terms that are very specific to your business, like brand names, product names, you can add that here.
Okay.
And then finally, this is the categories section where it will show you all the categories that you've created today and that are going to be analyzed by Transcribe Call Analytics when it is doing the processing of the audio file, right? So if you have 4 categories here, we can make sure that we look for all 4 and we apply them as and when we find the specific rules that match here.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So once you create this job, now does it do automatically? Does it automatically pick up these audio files and?
Yeah. As soon as as soon as I hit create job here, now this job is going to start getting processed. I'm going to just go in the interest of time and pick up a job that we've run before.
Okay.
You could do that, or essentially, let me also sort of just show you the output file itself.
Okay.
So in terms of the transcript, the way the transcript shows up is essentially in a JSON output file. So this output file that you get has all the rich metadata such as sentiment, the turn-by-turn transcript, the category matches, and you can really take this and sort of build intelligent dashboards on top of it. You can use Amazon QuickSight and create trend graphs with trends of sentiment for calls from week to week, month to month, and really track what's going right, what's going wrong. Let me just show you how some of these rich metadata shows up here. So you have these match category entries that are telling you, hey, there was a match category in this particular section.
Right.
We give you a bunch of different conversation characteristics, things like non-talk time, interruptions, the sentiment, like I said, and not just like sentiment overall, but sentiment by quarters of the call, sentiment.
Ultimately, we have a lot of detailed information here, which you can actually take and just do what you want with it. Again, as Kostas mentioned, you can put it in a QuickSight dashboard. You can build your own intelligence thought process. Wonderful, right? I think, again, this data is not visible if you do not have a service and a feature like this. So this could be highly useful to anybody who runs and operates a call center. So I think it's just a wonderful feature. Now, one of the things that I kind of wanted to ask here, especially on one of the pages before, you mentioned channels, right? So like it's a customer channel and an agent channel.
Yes.
Do we need to have those things separate? Do they need to be recorded in a specific way? Like what if our phone call is recorded only on a single channel, right? Is that a problem?
So I would say that is a prerequisite. So you'll have to have a stereo file which has separate channels for agent and customer, speaker 1 and speaker 2. But what you'll find is most of your calls that you get, call recordings, are already in a stereo format.
Okay.
And they already have information that they provide based on who's on what channel, right? So that information is not hard to find, and you rarely find recordings that are sort of mono channel where you have both speakers on one channel. In most cases, recordings are by default stereo, and they already have their channels along with information on who is on what channel.
Excellent. And also we have an amazing comment here from chat, and I love that. Love the ingenuity here. You mentioned pricing is per minute of processed out audio.
Yep.
Our amazing, the smallest one customer here. Let me put myself underneath Pam there. So they mention, if I do audio pre-processing and speed up the audio file from 2 minutes to 1 minute, is it cheaper that way?
So so your transcription will really depend on the quality of the audio itself. So I imagine when you speed it up, it's going to affect your quality of the transcript itself. So I like the ingenuity there, but you'll find that your performance might get impacted when you try to do that. By the way, speaking of pricing, right? I just wanted to sort of bring this up so that folks can take a quick look at this. So this is our pricing. Again, we have this all publicly available. You can go to our website and check out the price tiers. Essentially, all of this varies by regions, but you can see, we have 4 different tiers based on your usage. All of this pricing, like I said, is on number of audio minutes or units analyzed, and really it's at a per second grain. Just to give you an example, right? Let's say you were analyzing 200,000 calls per month, right? Which roughly equates to 2 million minutes, considering an average contact center call is about 10 minutes. That roughly would translate to $35,000 for the entire 2 million audio minutes that you're doing. And again, this is a huge volume of calls.
It is.
Yeah.
But it brings a lot of value, to be honest. Again, yes. if you're running a call center with that much phone calls,
yep.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. By the way, one quick thing that I wanted to point out here is our team has developed this GitHub demo that you can go ahead and test as well. So if you really want to understand, the art of the possible on how you can visualize a lot of these things, this is the place to sort of check out. So essentially, what this does is it takes the JSON output file that we've created, and it sort of shows you, what you can sort of visualize in a simple Word file, right? So how does the output show up? Well, this is an excellent example of how you can project a lot of the information in the JSON output file, right? So you can really plot out like the customer sentiment trend, see how it is progressing throughout the call. You can also map out how much non-talk time and talk time was there, right? Like you want to make sure that the non-talk time is minimum in relation to the talk time. Other things, you can actually plot out waveforms because we generate amplitude data. You can plot out waveforms for agent as well as the customer, and then you can tag sentiment for different sections of the call. So it really helps you sort of avoid having to listen to the entire conversation. You can jump to specific parts of the call and say, hey, this is where I want to really listen to what happened because I can see the sentiment is negative.
Excellent. I love this. The link is in the chat, by the way. We posted the link both on LinkedIn and Twitch, so you should be able to have the link to this GitHub repository and try it out for yourself. Awesome. Okay.
I just was going to ask, are there any customers that we can talk about that are using this today?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have two customers, Success KPI and TalkDesk. Both of them are involved in this call center and call analytics, part of the business. So really, they've been using Transcribe Call Analytics to sort of build their own application experience for their customers, so that their customers can really, get rich insights and rich metadata based on all the analytics that Transcribe Call Analytics is generating. Right. For example, just something that we have here called as issue detection. This is one of the common features that is used by a lot of our customers, where you can really understand why was this call happening. So you can see here the output here says cancel my cart, right? Like that is actually a custom machine learning model that we've developed, which can really pull out the one particular customer turn that is all about why the customer called in. So a lot of these rich features are what customers like TalkDesk and Success KPI are using and building applications on top of Transcribe Call Analytics.
Wonderful. I like to see when we have actual customers we can mention here that are using this, and something like this, you actually detect an issue in a phone call. That's wonderful. Again, you just want to make sure that you keep the quality of customer centers or phone call centers very high. So
absolutely
love this. Well, I mean, that's it. I think we've shared the GitHub to the audience, so make sure to check it out. Check out the repository if you want to play around with this. I think I haven't checked out the GitHub, but it basically gives the people the ability to play around with this and make all of these stuff, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I would highly encourage everyone. Like you've seen, right? It's a matter of like just 5 or 10 minutes where you just have to put a file in an S3 bucket, transcribe it, see the output, and then really play around with it.
And you have 60 minutes per month for the next 12 months.
12 months, free of charge.
Yeah, exactly. So try it out. Why not? Again, I think there could be lots of use cases for this, especially if you deal with phone calls. So wonderful. Kaustubh, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being part of this. Thank you for showing this amazing service. I think it's wonderful. And chat, yeah, check it out. Try it out as well. Kaustubh, we hope to see you sometime soon on this show as well.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks.
Bye.